Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator. Joining me today is Dimakatso Mokwena. Welcome.
Hi, Krylios. How are you?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
I'm also well.
Awesome, awesome. Well, it is so awesome to have you here with me today, and we have a lot to talk about. So let's kick it off with, just telling us a little bit about your background and your experience and letting everybody know who you are.
Okay, yes, I'm Dimakatso Mokwena, born and bred in South Africa. I'm in a small village just outside a small town called Zanin in the Limpopo province. I am a 37-year-old gay man and I love literature. I love reading, and that's what I'm all about.
Oh, fabulous. They say reading is fundamental. So
Yeah.
it is great to have you here. And I always love speaking to writers and kind of, getting to see a peek behind the curtain as to, what fuels your writing and your imagination. So actually, let's talk about that. You talk about reading and how important that is and your love of literature. When did this start?
I think I started loving reading. I must have been 8 years old. I was in primary school. And I remember this other one day at school, we read a short story and it didn't have a happy ending. And that kind of depressed me. I was like, I love happy endings. And I didn't know back then that I would actually love happy endings in life. And when I got home, I took that very same short story and I rewrote it to give it a happy ending. And as time went on, what I've actually done is that I would buy magazines and cut out the pictures and paste them in a book, and I would tell a story by using ways to actually tell the story as to what was happening with the characters. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's a great way and a really good activity too. That
Yeah.
I know they do in primary schools for like composition exercises and stuff like that. So that is fabulous. That's wonderful. Now, of course, you are a writer, and let us talk about your book. Here comes the gay king. First of all,
Yeah.
the title is already provocative. It jumps out at you. Talk to me about the title and then let's get into the book.
Okay, so basically, when I was writing the book, I had a working title and I took my manuscript. I think back then it was just about 2 or 3 chapters. I showed it to one of my friends and they said, the title of this book, it doesn't exactly sell the book. So you need to think of a title that would actually be very catchy while it also tells what the story is all about. And as I continued writing and I looked at what the plot was all about, you literally see the main character piece in the story come through to ascend the throne to become a king of his village. So, and I was like, actually, that should actually be the title of the story. So, and I wanted the title to be, very provocative and to invite people. And similarly, I wanted the same with regards to the cover. So I wanted quite a titillating cover, something that will
Yes.
me and grab me and find out what I'm all about. So I actually sought to have a title and a cover picture that would actually sell the story, because visual appeal for me is very important. And also I wanted a title that would actually, really just jump at people and say, you need to find out what this book is all about. And also, like for me, the issue of identity is important. I wanted the name of the book to actually say, this is a story of identity.
A story of identity, and that's so important, especially as this is the protagonist, from a village, as you said, and and now ready to become king of the village. And when you look at that and the fact that he's gay. This is also, you know, an African story. And for me, that is so important to see, you know, a gay African story, and look how, you know, that's a specific perspective. Look at how the story unfolds from that identity. Talk to me a little bit about making sure that you infuse, you know, these identities, you know, into the book, and what that means for it.
Yeah. So like for me as a writer, the cultural element was very important because on the African continent, you know, it's very unheard of to actually hear of a gay king. So I was like, okay, I've never heard of any gay king. So I was like, let's flip the coin a bit, you know. And one other thing that I wanted to do, you know, like in African culture, you know, there is an issue of ancestors and what they do, you know, like in the afterlife, how they're able to communicate with people, send messages to them, you know, try to reach out to them by appealing to them, you know, like using various forms of communication, either in the forms of dreams, or actually just by actually sending signals to the person to actually say that we are your ancestors and we're trying to reach out to you. And for me, to do justice to that story, I actually had to do research. I remember I actually read journal articles that spoke about identity. So, and I think for me, the way that I wanted to explore identity, so it is the identity of this one gay man whose name is Peace, and is going to become the king of his village. Essentially, then what I wanted to do was to actually show that over and above him being gay, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's actually out of the closet, because in South Africa and also on the African continent, but more especially in South Africa, although we've got a progressive constitution which recognizes the rights of LGBTQIA plus people, we still have people that are backwards, who actually think that being gay is an abomination, and that actually, you know, being gay, you know, they call it an African, and that you know, like a black man should actually not be gay, you know, like it's seen as a white man's disease. So I wanted to dispel those kind of myths to actually say that a black gay man can actually be called by his ancestors for him to become a king of his village, while he also leads a life that is fulfilling for him as a gay man. But here is the catch. He's actually living in the capital city of South Africa, which is Pretoria. And when he's in the city, he's out and proud. But when he's back home in the village, he's actually in the closet. So he works in the city of Pretoria, and, you know, he's sort of a migrant worker, and he studied in Cape Town in South Africa. So, but when he goes back home, he doesn't want his family to know that he's gay. And over and above that, but there are actually people in his family who actually do suspect that this character is gay. For instance, you know, like there is the family matriarch, for instance, who is the grandmother, you know, like she's very protective of him, and she just wants him to live his life in a fulfilling and a happy way. And also, he's got an 18-year-old son, and what his son does is that he supports his father in everything that the father does, but the problem is his mother and uncle who want him to actually inherit his late brother's widow, because she left, the brother left behind a very young widow and 2 young kids. And so they are saying, we've never seen you with any woman, yet you have an 18-year-old son. The only woman that we know is the woman that you were with 18 years ago while you were still in high school. And ever since then, we have never seen you being with any woman, or saying to us as a family that this is the woman that is in my life. I just want you to get to know her. And they say to him that, you know, on the African continent, there has never been a king who doesn't have a wife or wives for that matter. So they say to him that at the very least, you need to have at least one wife if you can't have many wives. So, and that causes tension in the story because he's cohabiting with his boyfriend in Pretoria. And when he tries to tell the boyfriend that, listen, let me just marry my late brother's widow just for my family so that they can just back off a bit, you know? And
yes.
Yeah, so like the boyfriend sees Red saying, okay, this means that to your family, I will just be your secret gay lover in the city. While you are back in the village, you are actually disguising as a straight man. And to your village, I will never be accepted as someone who is very important in your life. And that creates a whole lot of problem. And the entire tension in the story rests on the fact that he now needs to inherit his late brother's widow as his wife.
I see. Wow, such a complex web, such a complex web of
Yeah.
relationships and stories, and and meaning as well. When you just look at how important this is, this is an inheritance, a birthright, a kingdom for this, and how much that is tied into who he loves and how different this is, and kind of seeing how that all works out, a twisted tale. I love it. I love
Yeah,
to
yeah.
hear it. Talk to me a little bit about that, because you touched on it, about this in the book, but I want you to expound a little bit more about that difference in how many queer people, especially in many Black communities from countries with majority Black populations, they might be out or open maybe in the city, where that kind of thing is more progressive, but when it comes to their village or their ancestral home, or even just, being at home as opposed to being at university or something to that, where they have to lead, different lives because of, families or or the responsibility or the society around them, at home has a certain expectation of them and their behaviors.
Yeah, yeah. So and I'm so glad that you touched on the issue of family expectations on gay people. You'll find that especially here in South Africa, when I was writing my novel, I spoke with a lot of gay guys as part of my research because I wanted the story to reflect lived experiences of gay people in South Africa and also on the African continent as well. What I found out is that gay people actually, our families, they say to us that it's fine that you are gay, but don't try to overdo it. If you are in the city, it's fine, only do it in the city, but when you're back home, we want the community to respect us, so don't try to show the community that you are actually gay. Although I need to point out that that is actually not in all the communities. You'll find other parents who are actually very understanding and supportive of their children. But at the, and to illustrate on this point, for instance, so the king's lover in the story, his name is Thomas. He grew up, a very flamboyant child, and his family, they love and respect him for who he is. And he never had to come out to his family. He just grew up gay, and his family embraced him rather as such. But then on the other end of the spectrum, it is this now gay man who is going to become the king of his village. And the thing for his family is, we can't have a king who is gay, because other kingdoms, they will look down on us. They will say, you guys are ruled by a gay king. That's an abomination. It means the kingdom is weak. You cannot be a powerful kingdom that's actually ruled by a gay king. And the funny part in the story, for me at least, is that this character, or the main character piece, he was chosen by his ancestors while he was still in his mother's womb, to actually say that there's going to be a period sometime in the future, a period of significant change in the village. And we, as the ancestors, believe that the right candidate for the throne at that point in time will be this person who is now still in their mother's womb. So we are ordaining him to actually become the king of his village. And while I was writing the story, and I just spoke to one of my friends about the story that I was writing, and he said to me that he actually knows of a guy in his village who is actually going to become a king in like a month's time. But the thing is that he's gay, but his family is already saying to him that before you become the king, you need to actually first get married, and you must get married to a woman. So I needed to reflect that in the story as well. And over and above that, for me, it was important, like on the issue of identity, to show that the gay community, I'm not even going to talk about the LGBTQIA plus, but just the gay community on its own. It's a very diverse community, and what I do with this book is that I try to actually explain sexual roles, for instance. So because straight friends of mine who, like, whom I love and respect, and they do the same for me, you'll find that although they are very understanding and respecting people, you'll find that there are certain questions that they don't want to ask because they don't want to offend you, So, and I sought to actually explain what being gay is and what being gay is not, because you'll find that most heterosexual people believe that if a straight man has sex with a gay man, that makes the straight man gay. So I need to dispel those myths, to actually say what is actually a sexual identity and what does it really mean, like in terms of practical terms, to say this person is a gay person and what differentiates them from a straight person. And over and above that, I sought to actually explore what it means to be bisexual. For instance, the best friend to the king's boyfriend in the story, it's a female who is bisexual, and she's dating this straight guy. And the straight guy just doesn't understand that. But how can you be attracted to women? I'm here as a lover. And after sexual intercourse, then he says to her that since we have just had sex, would you say that was great? And she responded, yeah, it was great. I enjoyed it. And then he then asked that, does that mean that you will no longer be attracted to women? So like all those kind of scenarios. So like essentially my book is a literary melting pot of all kinds of things that you can think of when it comes to sexual identity. And I explore sexual identity in all its facets by just simply following this story of the two gay guys in the story, and the one's going to become the king, the one is the boyfriend. So I follow their love life, and when you read the book, you will actually realize that they are star-crossed lovers. They cannot be together because of the main character's family expectations and his chieftaincy destiny, for instance. So the issue of his chieftaincy destiny, it actually makes him to want to make compromises to make his family happy, while at the same time, he hates the one person whom he says, this is the love of my life. I've never loved anyone in this way. So I really go in, and I go in hard, and I lay all these things bare for everybody, to see and understand. And as I said earlier, in terms of sexual roles, I talk about what it means to be top, what it means to be bottom, versatile, etc. I go into all of those.
Awesome. So tell me, what has been the reaction? What has been the public feedback since the book has been out? What have you been hearing? What have you been seeing?
Okay, so like firstly from the gay community, like all the gay guys that have read the book, right? They've come back to me and said, oh my God, I can't believe there is such a great book out there. This is actually great. And they are saying that, they want all their friends to read the book. But on the week that my book was published, so there is a newspaper back home in Zanin called Letaba Herald. I spoke with them, and they ran an article, and they put the link on their Facebook page. And I went onto their Facebook page to actually read the comments, and the homophobic things that were said on that page. Was like, I just really don't have the time and the energy for this, because I'm at a different space in my life right now, and these people, I'm, like, in terms of like their reasoning capacity and their intellect, for that matter, it is not at the level where I am. I just said to myself that, nah, I'm not going to engage with this kind of people. And the guy, that's the king on the cover of the story. You can see he's got the throne there. He's a very friend of mine, So I was actually struggling to find models to, to appear on the cover of my novel. So much so that even the night before the shoot, one of my models pulled out, and I had to step in and be, be one of the models. And then, so after the cover was done, and I was happy with the cover, then I put it on my socials, and people were commenting and saying all kinds of things, positive feedback, negative feedback from homophobic people, obviously. And I remember one of like the guy that, you know, appears as the king on the cover. So there was actually a lady friend of his who actually sent him a WhatsApp text and said, is this you on the cover? Did you know about this? How can you do something like this? You know, and he actually sent me the text. I was like, oh my God. And for him, he just said to me that, listen, don't worry, I can actually handle this sort of thing as long as your book does well. And that's what I want for you, because I'm here to support you. So, and I think what I've learned out of that experience is that at least in South Africa, we still have a long way to go in terms of asserting people's rights, especially the gay community's rights, because we've got this constitution that says that nobody should be discriminated based on their sexual identity, for instance, and that everybody is equal before the law. And South Africa was one of the first countries, or it was actually the first country in Africa to legalize same-sex marriages. And as I'm speaking to you now, you find that on the African continent, there are so many countries whereby homosexuality is criminalized and punished. People can actually go to jail for just simply being who they are. And in terms of like also the feedback that I've received, there are people as far as, you know, like our neighboring countries like Botswana, Zimbabwe, Namibia, who are actually saying, how can we get hold of this book? You know, it looks like a great book. We just want to read the book. I think many people, they like the idea of the book and what it seeks to achieve. I remember this other friend of mine, after she read the story, she came to me and said, I thought I knew what it means to be gay, but after I read your book, I actually understand even better now that this is what being gay is and this is what being gay is not. So the feedback has been kind of been mixed, you know, like it's like on the one extreme, it's actually people who are saying, what is this? We don't understand this sort of thing, and this cannot be tolerated. And on the other end of the spectrum, you actually have people who say, oh my God, what an educational book, and at the very same time, entertaining with a great storyline that is juxtaposed with contemporary socio-political and socio-economic issues on the African continent, to actually say that these are the challenges faced by ordinary people on the ground. And what I sought to achieve was to actually relook at the role of the monarchy in any given village, to actually say that what does a royal house really, what should it do? Because I don't believe that back in the day, you know, either during the time of Shaka Zulu or Senzakakona or any other kingdom for that matter, that the role of the monarch was to take from the people. But what we're seeing today is that you find that even in political leadership across the world, people just want to take from the people. They don't want to invest in the people. And I think the one thing that I wanted to show was to actually say being a leader is about being of service to your people. You need to be of service and give something to them, not take from them. So it was very important for me to actually showcase those kind of things, and at the same time, reflect the lived reality of ordinary people who are living in abject poverty, and actually saying, this king who has been touted by his ancestors, to actually say that, because the ancestors do say in the book that he is the key that will unearth the riches of the village. And when you read the book towards the end, you actually get to realize that he will literally unearth the riches of the village in terms of the minerals that are available in that particular village, and that those minerals, they're actually supposed to benefit the community as much as, you know, there would be an investor who will bring the resources, you know, to try to, you know, like to unearth whatever minerals that are available in that village. But that should not be done at the expense of the dignity of the workers who would work at that project.
Certainly, certainly. And tell me, how can people buy the book?
People can buy the book on Amazon, Apple Books, and Scribble, and it's quite there is quite a lot of platforms that they can buy the book from, but I think the biggest one is Amazon, like from all over the world. People can actually buy a printed copy, or they can even buy an ebook. And if they're subscribed to Amazon, they've got the monthly subscription that's going on there, people can just go to Amazon and search for Here Comes the Gay King, and they will be able to read it from there.
Perfect, perfect. And how can people follow you and keep up with everything that you've got going on?
Okay, so people can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. That is where I'm mostly active. It's at Selfie Runner ZA, because on the other side, I love running as well. So I've done a number of marathons. So yeah, they can just search for at Selfie Runner ZA, or they can just search for my name as it appears on my novel cover, Dimakatso David Mokwena, and I will appear there as at Selfie Runner ZA, and they can just follow me. If they've got any questions about the book, they can DM me, and I'll be able to answer any questions that they have.
Awesome. And we're going to have those links in the description below. Dimakatso, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. Toodles.
And once again, viewers, Here Comes the Gay King is available for sale online at Amazon.com, Apple Books, and Goodreads. And of course, you can always follow Team Rayceen Productions at Team Rayceen on social media. Click around our YouTube channel and check out our other interviews, vlogs, forums, and more. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But most of all, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.